Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Redefining the Dental Laboratory Workflow with Additive Manufacturing. My name's Diane. I'm part of the marketing team here at Prodways. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin today's webinar. All participants will be in listen-only mode. Your microphones are muted, but we encourage your questions. So please submit any of your questions by typing them into the Q&A area on your control panel, and we'll do our best to answer those at the Q&A session at the end. So we'll get started here today. I'd like to introduce our panelists joining us on today's webinar. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Lee Barbias. He's our regional sales manager here at Prodways. Lee has several years of experience with additive manufacturing. He's helped many of our customers successfully implement dental workflows into their business. We also have Vincet Icart, and he's our Moving Light program director here at Prodways. He's been working in 3D printing for several years as a technical expert and product leader. He specializes in resin systems. He's accompanied hundreds of our customers in their deployment of 3D printing for dental and other applications. And we also have Kris Wouters. Kris is the general manager of healthcare business vertical at Oqton. And before Oqton, Kris worked for almost 25 years at a 3D printing pioneer, Materialize, in a variety of roles in the US and Europe, focused on medical and dental applications. And we're really happy to have Oqton on this webinar with us today. Just to go through a few of the key learnings, we will go through the clear aligner market, the benefits of all digital, and then Oqton will jump on and give us a review of their AI-powered production automation software. We'll talk about the interoperability of the entire production chain, and then delivering a unique end-to-end clear aligner workflow. So with that, I want to hand it over to Lee to talk a little bit about Prodways and also a bit about the clear aligner market. Lee?
Excellent. Thank you, Diane. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. We're excited to be here and hope that you are able to learn something new from this webinar. And hopefully we can start doing these again in person pretty soon here. So I just wanted to start with a brief overview of who Prodways is and what we offer. So Prodways is a 3D printing and digital manufacturing solution provider with our world headquarters over in France, but we also have our US location here in New Hampshire, just north of Boston. So our 3D printers, they really fall into the three different categories. We have our wax drop on demand technology, which is through the SolidScape brand, which is able to print layer thicknesses down to 6 microns. And SolidScape mainly serves the jewelry industry. We also have our P-Series SLS machines, which is a powder bed machine printing polymers such as nylon 12, polypropylene, and TPU, among others. These machines are used in automotive, O&P, and numerous other industries. And then we have our Moving Light technology, which is offered in our LD series. These printers are heavily focused on the dental industry. Moving Light was developed in 2007, so it is a proven technology globally in the dental industry for mass production of clear aligners, crown and bridge, and implantology. It is similar to some other products on the market in that we use a DLP projector to cure photopolymers, but it is very different at the same time because we move the projector within the system to achieve localized accuracy across the build platform. And the Prodways group also contains DeltaMed, which produces all of the resins used in our LD series machines. So not only do we have the know-how with the machine, we have an industry leader providing dental materials within the Prodways group. So as of today, there are over 5 million patients that have used clear aligners, with this number expected to grow rapidly in the coming years. As of 2020, the clear aligner market was at $2.41 billion globally, but it is projected to grow to over $10 billion by 2028. I just did a similar webinar last year when the projection for 2027 was at $6 billion. So as you can see, that these projections just continue to go up, even with the current COVID-19 pandemic. Growth was slightly slowed last year, but is expected to pick up in a major way once we are through this. Currently, the bulk of the market is in North America with 58% of the total market, but there are also large markets across Europe and the Asia Pacific region, with the APAC region expected to see the most growth over the next 7 years. There are several reasons this growth is expected, with the obvious being the visual appeal of the clear aligner really taking off. But technological advancements in additive manufacturing, scanning, and 3D modeling, allowing for the mass customization necessary for clear aligner production, combined with increased penetration by key companies, is really driving this growth. So let's talk about some of the reasons to move to a digital workflow. The interoperability of an all-digital solution used throughout manufacturing is necessary to guarantee an optimal result. The additive manufacturing technology to produce on-demand clear aligners that are perfectly suited to each individual is an advantage for orthodontists, since additive manufacturing is the only method able to carry this out reliably. One of the first advantages seen is the speed of the whole process. With totally digital impressions or mouth trays that are perfectly adapted, patients are able to avoid lengthy sessions in the chair, and the flow downstream with production times is sped up. 3D printing allows for the printing of many models at the same time with very high accuracy. With these resources, you have reliable and efficient tools at hand to create top quality pieces with high precision fitting. The reduction in production times and speed of implementation ultimately translates into greater patient satisfaction. They benefit from increased comfort and are able to gain more control of their budget. And as a result, you also benefit, not only in terms of the customer relationship, but also through a modern and well-controlled practice, a simpler workflow that requires less manpower, and a guaranteed increase in profitability. For labs, the use of highly automated machines that operate with a consistent and integrated process produces significant economies of scale and responses that are adapted to market needs. It is also a real growth driver for you, enabling the company to expand in a profitable and fast-growing market. With 3D printing, technicians are becoming more skilled and versatile, but this does not mean that the craftsmanship of traditional methods is replaced. The digital side complements the craftsmanship very well. As soon as it becomes a part of an integrated production chain, the additive manufacturing of aligners becomes a major asset for the development of these professionals. For labs, mastering 3D printing is a formidable means of growth with an investment that quickly pays for itself. So I'll turn it over to Vincent.
Yes. Thanks, Lee, and thanks everyone for joining. So Diane and Lee nicely introduced the topic for you, and as you might have heard from them, we have dropped the buzzword workflow several times already. So let me explain to you why it's not a buzzword, but a reality. So this slide intends to show you what are the main steps to explain how clear aligners are produced. Obviously, I'll start with capturing the patient's clinical data. This can be done either by an impression or more preferably by means of intraoral scanning. Once this is done, the data will be processed so to produce all steps for the treatment, with at the end the generation of the aligner molds that are to be produced via additive manufacturing. This step is critical for the process, and I will have the opportunity to tell you more about it later today. After printing, the parts are post-processed, which means in our case, because we are handling a photopolymer, a cleaning and a post-UV curing. At that stage, you understand we only have aligner molds, and we have now to create the real aligners. This brings us to the thermoforming step. Depending on the volumes, either a standalone handheld machine may be used, either for industrial scale operation. We can use automation that is bringing obviously throughput and quality. To that matter, we have been validating the hammer pack machines that achieve automated thermoforming. I will tell you more later today. The validation process allows to guarantee our customers with a smooth technical compatibility between the both systems, because as you can imagine, printing a part that is usable into an automated piece of hardware does not come necessarily for granted. Now that we have produced a lot of aligner on their mold, they must be ID'd so to comply with the UDI requirement, and obviously to allow easy sorting, because if you have hundreds or thousands of aligners, you need to recognize which is which. Finally, the aligners needs to be released from the mold via the trimming, and they will be afterwards ready for packaging just after having been polished and sorted by the cases. You've seen in this workflow, there are easily 7 steps. The workflow may be quite complex, and there are a tremendous number of parts to be printed. When you see there are at least solid 40 individual parts to be printed in average, you are rapidly hitting the triple digits part per day to handle. This means that handling such a production is definitely not manageable with an Excel file, and a proper system is needed. So let me introduce to you another buzzword, since I'm talking buzzword today, and this is manufacturing execution system, also known as MES. Handling manufacturing data for that kind of operation requires advanced solution, and I'm happy to welcome our latest partner, Oqton, on this webinar today. So Kris Wouters from Oqton will now explain to you all about MES and how software can empower the manufacturing hardware.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincent, and thank you to the Prodways team for inviting me to the webinar. It's a real pleasure to be here. So before diving into the Oqton software, let me start with some background on the company. So Oqton was founded in Silicon Valley back in 2017 by a core team of people with background at Autodesk. You see them listed here. They were all executives at Autodesk, and between them responsible for the digital manufacturing portfolio. And the team saw challenges in today's production. Today's production has to be flexible and happen at an ever increasing speed. And that creates quite some challenges. And to that end, a lot of digitization has already happened to help overcome this and help to make it happen. And digital dentistry is a good example of that in the dental world, but it hasn't made life any easier. And that's where the founding fathers of Oqton, they saw that a software component is needed. And that brings us to what we do. So at Oqton, we want to solve today's manufacturing challenges with the software you can best think of as an operating system for manufacturing sites that is powered by artificial intelligence. Next, please. And we are today over 80 people and have between us 450 years of manufacturing experience, with next to our office in San Francisco, also an office in Belgium, where I'm connecting in from today, and an office in Denmark and in China, where we have a lot of production going on. And we successfully completed a Series A capital increase of 40 million in January this year. Next, please. So at the core of Oqton, we have our competence of artificial intelligence, also complemented with software and cloud-based software competences. And around that, we have a layer of deep application knowledge that is in additive manufacturing, in CNC milling, and in robotics. And business-wise, we are structured in verticals. And obviously, here today, we're about to speak about the dental business vertical. Next, please. So in terms of product promise, what we do is with Oqton for Dental, we're bringing an automated production system to dental labs and dental service providers that is powered by AI and with an aim to increase your efficiency and therefore also your peace of mind. Next, please. So how do we do that? So with Oqton, we are grouping 3 large blocks that you typically find today in separate softwares, but we group them in one software. At the core of Oqton, we have an MES, or manufacturing as execution system, which is all about managing your production. It's about planning and tracking cases and analyzing it. And we combine that with an IoT, or an Internet of Things component, to connect with the different machines. So we get live data on what's going on, and we can also push files to a machine when it's ready for maximum efficiency. And thirdly, we have a CAM component, which is all about generating the right files for the 3D printer or the CNC machines. Next, please. Oqton is a cloud-based software, which makes that it's easily accessible and scalable. And we're also meeting the highest security standards through SOC 2 compliancy that we have. And for the larger labs and service centers among you, this comes in handy if you have a production at different geographical spots. Then Oqton can be in the center and connect everything. Or, as happens sometimes, you can have a remote design unit that needs to connect in a physical production somewhere else. Then cloud software is perfectly suited to do this. Next, please. If we then look at the workflow, everything starts with inputting your orders in Oqton, and then an automatic preparation step will kick in. I'll zoom in the next slide what that means. And once this preparation is done, Oqton will schedule the job across your machine park. It will use monitoring of the machines to do that accurately and send the data to the right machines at the right time. And the long-term monitoring will be used to analyze your machine park and prevent issues. And all that is happening with everything documented in a digital way, so you have perfect traceability. Next, please. So if we zoom in on the workflow for the printing of dental models, which is key in the fabrication of aligners, the first step is an import step, and that's actually the only time you need to click. And once it's imported, the files, they will be healed automatically. The AI model in the software will then recognize what type of application it is. It will recognize it's a dental model and then apply the appropriate strategy. This starts with orientation, which is typically a flat on bed orientation, which is then can be combined with some optional steps like hollowing to save material, labeling if it wasn't done on the design side, support generation, which is typically not done if you orient flat on bed, but it could be interesting for other applications. And then once all this is done, Oqton will apply a dense interlocked nesting to pack the maximum amount of parts for your machine platform. And in the case of Prodways, it will be sent to a Prodways machines where it's sliced on the machine. Next, please. Then through the partnership we have with Prodways, there are a few extra things we do that give optimal results. First of all, the nesting we do is also optimized for a projector of the Prodways machines, and this really plays when the machine isn't fully loaded. So here you can see 3 examples of a nest from the same amount of files. Oqton will present the middle nest because this nest assures that the projector has the minimum of travel on the Oqton, on the Prodways side, sorry, and this means the best build speed. Furthermore, we have the deep IoT integration with Prodways as well, which allows us to push the machine files directly to the machine for printing in an automated way. And we have an anisotropic XYZ scaling setup, which is to be tuned every time in function of the material and the geometry, and then gives the best results, the best accuracy results. Next, please. Then furthermore, in the Oqton software, you have a dashboard that gives you a graphic overview of your machine park, where you can see which machines are printing on which jobs. You can plan for maintenance of specific machines and have those slots blocked while they're under maintenance. You can see the next job that will come up. And there's also a dashboard with more parameters on the machine itself. So you really know what's going on in your machine park, including even live video feeds from the cameras in the Prodways machines, as you can see here. Next, please. So what does this all bring? In a nutshell, the key thing, if we have to name one, it's automation, which will really help to save operating time. But it's not just automation, it's automation at a high experience level, which really helps also to reduce the dependency on key operators. Oqton will also replace multiple pieces of software that you otherwise would have to use, which really makes it more easy to use and scalable, a lot lighter on the training. And it also allows for hybrid manufacturing. And I will come back to that in the next slide. But in the aligner process, you also have the trimming of the aligners, which is a completely different technology. But since Oqton also supports the CNC milling process, these can be combined by one production management system. Then Oqton will help to increase your productivity. There's a saving of the operator time, of course, but also it helps to get you more out of your machines from an extra dense nesting or from the reduction of material consumption through hollowing, for instance, or to special types of support. But it can also help you to monitor the machine status and therefore prevent issues. And last but not least, Oqton will give you full traceability. Everything's documented in the software, every step, so it allows you to go completely paperless. And it traces every order, every part, every action on a part you did, the full revision history, even up to the batch of material where everything started with. Next, please. So far we have zoomed in on the 3D printing process with the Prodways printer. But to conclude, I want to say that Oqton is also designed to be the MES and operating system for the full manufacturing process. And in the case of aligners, we're then talking about also the thermoforming, the CNC trimming of the formed plates and the laser marking. And Oqton is in the center of this process, passing on the right information at the right time, document everything for full traceability of your fast and flexible aligner factory. And with this, I want to hand it over again to Vincent.
Thanks, Kris, for this inspiring presentation. And I'm really happy that Oqton is able to help for our machines, but also for the rest of the workflow at our customer, because it's really where it's having its value. So let me now continue about some technical aspects about the aligner manufacturing and about how our innovation serves this quite demanding application. So as you know, the aligners are medical devices and they are getting commonality. Technically, this means several things. First, the process needs to be fast, as there are a lot of parts to print. Then the process needs to be accurate in order to achieve good medical results. And the aligners needs to be nice looking, since we want to give people nice smiles. We are always having those three things in mind when we develop our products. So how do we do that? First of all, we use a large platform machine with advanced DLP technology. This allows us to print up to 55 to 60 aligner per platform in down to 1 hour. In down to 1 hour in the fastest print time available. The use of DLP technology with very high native resolution combined with our own developed materials allows us to maintain a great accuracy compatible with the highest requirements to that respect.
And Vincent, I just want to jump in real quick and reiterate that the throughput on the machines. So as you mentioned, we're capable of producing up to 55 models in as little as 1 hour. Obviously this is dependent on layer thickness selected, but these are real numbers that we are seeing from our customers in the field. With clear aligners, there are obviously a lot of models that are needed. So being able to print fast, accurate, and in large quantities is huge. So just wanted to reiterate that. So sorry to get you off track, Vincent, but again, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no problem. So we just talked about accuracy and throughput. This leaves me with my third point, which is nice looking smiles and nice looking aligners. So regarding aesthetics, we have two secret weapons. The first one is what you have here displayed on the left with the 3D super resolution. So a few months back already, we released this new computation algorithm on our machine that allows a native smoother XY surface finish. And because of the previous point about the throughput, we did that in such a way that we are not burdening the print time, because throughput of the machine is very important. The second one is the material, and that brings me to my next slide. Next, please. Thanks. So for those who are not familiar with Prodways, we are obviously machine manufacturers, but we are also developing and manufacturing our own photopolymer materials. This allows us to optimize all aspects of the processes. Our latest innovation is the absolute aligner resin. So you have some pictures here on the right. So this material for aligner molds was engineered by our product materials division, having in mind all specificities of the aligners manufacturing. The material features a revolutionary surface finish that allows the production of the smoothest aligners. That's really the key point about this material, the ability to print molds without any lines visible. We of course kept the accuracy standard very high because it's one of the key criteria for aligner manufacturing, together with the extremely fast printing speed that we already had with our other materials. Finally, because we always have the full workflow in mind, we also specifically designed the colors so to enable the scan-friendly process. So you see this opaque blue color on the picture. This allows us to get a very repeatable scanning results for quality control, even without using the scan spray that is usually needed. Now that we have printed the aligner mold with this nice material, we need to clean the models to remove the excess photopolymer materials, because we are printing into a vat full of liquid resin. So this absolute aligner material is compatible with our latest post-processing technology, which is a spinning station. Combining the use of this material with this specific post-processing device, we are getting aligners with unmatched transparency, with the ability to produce aligners, as I said, fully transparent with no lines. It's really the conclusion of our in-depth application engineering, so to optimize the aligner printing process. But there is more. As you can tell on this picture on the right, there is no solvent needed in this process. Most cleaning methods involve the use of solvent, namely the isopropanol. This solvent not only has a cost, but also represents some operational hassles that are really worth eliminating. It's flammable, it's obviously not environmental friendly, and it does have a very strong smell. The station that we have developed allows us to clean up to 120 aligners in less than 5 minutes. So you can see here on the right, we are positioning one platform, but just on the other side, there is another one. Each platform is around 60 platforms, so it's not a full platform here on that tray. And we are spinning those two platforms less than 5 minutes without any solvent. The resin that's going to be collected at the bottom of this vat may be reclaimed, and the reclaimed resin may be poured back into the printer for reuse. I will now conclude my presentation with some very brief comments on the end aligner manufacturing steps, because it does make a difference into the operations. So the models being clean and UV post-cured, so there was no specific slide about it, but there is a quick UV post-cure so that the properties, the mechanical properties and the outer surface finish is fully cured. Once this UV post-cure is done, the thermoforming is needed. As discussed previously, when dealing with hundreds or thousands of aligner, some automation is needed because you will need otherwise many different machines, many operators handling this machine. So it's difficultly scalable. This is where we have partnered with the Spanish and global player company Hammerpack. We have worked closely with their team so to connect our machine and enable a good technical interfacing of the molds printed in our machine, and they need to be processed in their machines. So these machines may be available in several variations, accommodating quite a wide range of materials and thicknesses. And as Prodways did a lot of application engineering, Hammer did a lot on there so that we have a very optimized thermoforming process with very accurate and repeatable results. On the right hand side here, you can see two machines from them, which are the TVP 12 and 25. I will not go too much into the technical details today, but please feel free to reach out to us into the Q&A at the end of the webinar, so we can reach out to you individually after this presentation. After the thermoforming, the aligners are not yet ready for use. They need to be identified both for regulatory and obvious sorting reasons. And this is done preferably by laser marking. Alternate ways to emboss 3D printed ID. But again, when you have a lot of parts, these have some limitation. Once they are marked, they are ready to be separated. The aligner may be separated from the aligner mold, which may be done either manually or by an automated trimming. For those two steps, we as well have validated some key technological partners together with our software partner Oqton, as well as our thermoforming partner Hammer. So please again reach out to us at the end of this presentation so we can provide more details to you, as we are not able to fit all aspects of this long manufacturing process in today's presentation. So that's all for the technical elements today. I hope you enjoyed the workflow presentation, and I will now give it back to Lee for a few conclusion words.
Thanks, Vincent. So as you can see, there are a lot of important pieces to put together, but I can't stress enough how important the interoperability is. But to wrap it all up, it is important to remember that all these products that we spoke about are designed to make you and your business more competitive and profitable, in an increasingly competitive market. We spoke about where the clear aligner market is headed. So being an early adopter or a pioneer in this space, can help you to gain the market share and separate yourself from the competition. Prodways, Oqton, and others are all here to help you succeed. So with that said, I don't know, Kris, Vincent, if you have anything else that you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead, Kris.
Thank you, Vincent. Lee, I think you worded it great. In the end, it's all about a fast, flexible, profitable, high quality production. And it does take more than a reliable high output machine like a Prodways machine. It also takes an operating software for production with a strong MES component to make everything work together fluently, and give the lab owners and the service providers the peace of mind they really deserve in their production. So yes, yeah, I fully agree.
Excellent. Great. Well, I guess we will, Diane, I don't know if there are any questions that came through.
Yes, we have some questions that came through, and we also have some raised hands. If you raised your hand, everyone is on mute during this webinar. So if you have a question, if you can type it into the Q&A box on your control panel, we will answer them live here. But we do have a question about relaunching. It's how quickly after a printing job is done can you relaunch the printer?
Okay, so I guess I will take this one, Diane. So when we are using the printer with our spinning machine, you might have seen on the picture of the spinning machine that it was not directly the path into the machine, but a full platform going into this device, so that the process after the print is finished is that someone will collect the platform with all 50 to 60 aligners on the platform, put it into this machine. Another platform may be used directly into the machine, and then the operator is notifying on the machine that the machine is ready, and then the next job in the line may be printed, pulling the nest from the Oqton system. So to answer the question, it's less than 5 minutes and very limited interaction between the operator and the machine.
Great, thanks, Vincent. We have a question here about strategies for getting started. Can you elaborate on some of the best strategies or best practices for getting started in clear aligner production?
Lee, do you want to go or do you want me to go? You're on mute.
Lee, I think you're muted.
Yep, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of factors to take into account there with getting started in clear aligners. But I mean, as you've seen, the growth possibilities are I don't want to say endless, but there's a big market out there. You know, so there like I said, there are a number of factors that you need to take into account with your own lab, and you know what you already offer, and if there are any synergies between some of the products that you already offer. But I think it is an important thing to take a look at, and we're more than happy to help you get started, you know, in the clear aligner space.
And maybe also, Lee, if I may add, I think one of the best strategy would say to get out there and get started, because there is a huge market. And even today we talked a lot about automation because our machines are suited for volumes. It's actually, when you have the proper guidance and partner, quite easy to get started with the liner, because trimming manually, thermoforming manually can be done fairly quickly. And then let's say the system with our printer, with the software, is quite scalable. And then when the volumes are there, you can automate, but it does not take such tremendous investment into automation so that to get started with real production.
Great, thanks Vincent and Lee for that. Have a few more questions coming in. What is the size of the machine and the training time? Also, is the treatment plan done 100% by the machine?
So the size of the machine, I'll answer in metric and maybe Lee can do imperial. So the machine is less than 1 square meter on the floor and less than 2 meters in height.
I always say it's about the size of a refrigerator.
Okay,
it's pretty.
Cool. That translates okay.
Yeah, everybody. It's a common item that most people can relate it to.
Yeah, and regarding the treatment planning, so no products or Oqton are handling the treatment planning. This is really the medical part of it, and then there are plenty of software out there. Either you can get yourself a software and get yourself some training how to perform the treatment planning. So I can drop some names here, but since it's really let's say, medical choice. It's up for you to see which one is more suited. So obviously, you all know we are connected with 3Shape that has a very good treatment planning software. Other software out there are very strong in Europe, like Onyxf. So this is where you are doing the treatment planning. Then you are exporting ready to be processed STL that would go to Oqton to be prepared for the printing. So meaning arranged on the platform, rescaled, fixed, and then pushed to the machines. And then I think I'm forgetting, there was a question about training. Was it related to the machine or to the treatment planning?
It was about the training time, size of the machine and the training time.
Okay, so for training, if it's correlated to the treatment planning, cannot really comment. Also note that if you do not want to get yourself trained on the treatment planning, there are outsourcing services for treatment planning that you don't have to train. For the machine, it's fairly quick. We do it during the same week where we install the machine because the nice thing with the liners is that it's always the same parts, so it's very easy to interact with the machine or software.
And I will say we do offer a more in-depth training as well. If you aren't as familiar with printing, doing 3D printing within the dental market. So, most of our customers only require that, 1-day training during the installation. But if you do need a little bit more than that, we do offer that as well.
Great, thank you. And there's another question that came in that's similar to that, but it's someone's asking, what type of support do you offer dental labs that are new to 3D printing? Do you advise customers on a step-by-step workflow for their particular business?
I guess we can let Vincent answer that one since he's the one that would be he's heavily involved in that.
So we have various way to work, but of course, since it's very workflow oriented, we are always helping out our customer to get started. So we have some application engineers. Also, our support team are quite familiar with the vertical. So we are able to either make some recommendation, make some support on our systems. And we are, as I said, quite familiar with most of the players, so that we are able to go along with you and get yourself some training on the processes. We are only, let's say, a facilitator. We are not doing everything for you, but we help out in the process.
Wonderful, thanks. We have a question that came in. Does the machine also make night guards?
So it's a question more related to materials. Our printer is technically capable of printing the night guards. The night guards materials are frequently transparent, or more or less transparent. This is usually handled at 385 nanometers, which we also do have on the portfolio. I have to say it's not the most used application on our printer, because our machine is really a volume application, so that it's not day-to-day operation for that, but we can get in touch with you if you're interested, because indeed the machine is technically capable of printing those, because the machine can print supports. So a night guard would be printed on support. We did not mention that today because the liners are printed directly flat on the platform on our machine, but it's technically doable because the machine does a liner printing. But if you remember, we're explaining we have a very high native resolution that's coming because we are using a DLP. So the machine is compatible with this application as well.
Great, thank you. We have a question for Kris about Oqton. Does the configuration of Oqton require custom development for a dental lab?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. It does require configuration, but the software is made that it's quite easy to configure, and together with Prodways, we'll find out what the most appropriate flow is for what you want to do, and then we will make sure it's configured. And the good thing is there's configuration, but there is no intensive work. I mean, it's not like there's a consultancy or anything that is needed. It's a simple parametric configuration, and will help you get set up simply for that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kris. We also have another question for you. How is AI used in Oqton, and will the software automatically improve?
Yeah. Yes. So the first time artificial intelligence kicks in is after uploading the part, and then we use AI to determine what from the shape what application the user is aiming at, and this helps them to classify the part into a specific bucket for which a specific automation kicks in. But AI is really used throughout Oqton, and let me give you just another example. The next step, once a classification is made, will be the orientation of the part, and there we use a model that proposes an orientation that's based on a lot of experience. So it's a great starting point. But it's still possible that as a user, you're not too happy with it. You want to tweak it. You want to make changes, or for a particular application, you want to do this. And when you do that a few times, then when Oqton is set to self-learning, it will pick it up and it will start proposing the new orientation for you. And so this way, you can not only benefit from the high experience level to start with, you can mix in your own experience and make it even better. And then Oqton will just make it available for your lab only. And it will do this using the technique called machine learning, which is one of the applications of artificial intelligence.
Perfect. Thank you, Kris. We've got a question around benefits. What are the benefits of running a large machine over some of the smaller machines?
So I guess there are quite a few benefits, but I guess the one that I always go to is, we like to say that, the Prodways machine is like having 40 plus smaller DLP machines packed into one. So, with that said, I mean, it's powerful. It's, you're pumping out models. You're able to produce a lot of models at one time, which means, your operator is spending less time at the machine. They're able to do other things, throughout the day while the machine is running. They can, let the machine do its job, get the models off, after an hour, 2 hours, whatever it may be, and then, they're able to focus on other things and not just simply babysitting a 3D printer.
And also because of the large platform, something that we do see on the field, not done by everyone, but there are many customers that, for some operational reasons, like to group the cases together. And that's something that we can do with our platform, because the platform frequently allows a bigger envelope that was needed for the medium to average cases.
Wonderful. Thanks for that answer. And we've got another question for Kris. Can Oqton be tried out?
Yes, it definitely can. So we have a free 1-month trial version, which gives you ample time to just have a look at the software, and during that time, we'll support you as any customer. And
thank you for that, Kris. And on that same note, we have another question about Absolute Aligner, are we able to send printed sample models of Absolute Aligner?
Yes, yeah, of course. We'd be happy to, obviously we'd want to have a conversation first, figure out what you guys are doing and, how we could help you out. But yeah, we certainly do samples and we'd be more than happy to do that.
Perfect, thanks, Lee. Any other questions? We are out of questions for now, but those were all great questions and we really appreciate them. Again, if there's any more, you can certainly type them to them or follow up with us. So with that, I would like to thank everybody for attending today. Thank you, Kris and Lee and Vincent, for our panelists for being on here. We really appreciate that. And we thank you for joining us. We know your time is really valuable and we really appreciate all your participation and great questions today. If you want more information about Prodways or you want to download our 40-page ebook that we've put together on clear aligners, you can visit our website at www.prodways.com. And again, thank you all for attending today. We appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your day or evening.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.